your girl Joanna. For today's video, we will do analysis criticism about poetry. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, for the first part of this video, I am going to introduce this poem. The title of this piece is The Passionate Shepherd to His Love. It's a 6/4 lane stanza, a style of traditional pastoral poetry, and it was written by Christopher Marlowe. And for a title knowledge, this piece is a response to the other poem. The title is The Nymph Reply to the Shepherd. Sound interesting, right? So, for me, I advise you to finish this video because Miss Rona Jane Custodio will discuss the other poem entitled The Nymph Reply to the Shepherd for you to fully understand this analysis without wasting time. Come on! Let's take some information. The Passionate Shepherd to His Love by Christopher Marlowe. Christopher Marlowe is a poet and playwright. His work influenced William Shakespeare and other writers. Died at age of 29. Stabbed in the head by Ingram Fraser in a tavern after a dispute over the top. The men he was with were all in the Secret Service, thought to be a secret agent for Sir Francis Walsingham Intelligence Services. This poem was established in 1599 after Marlowe's death. It is a lyrical poem. It is an ode. It is written in first person so that you can see a clear persona and strong feelings. This poem is about love, innocence, youth, and poetry. Because the typical picture of shepherd is that they are innocent and used to live in idyllic location. The goal of pastoral poetry like this is to idealize the harmony, calm, and simplicity of the shepherd's existence. The central topic of this poem is romantic love, which is intertwined with issues such as man, the natural world, and time. In this poetry, a shepherd speaks to his girlfriend or beloved, conjuring all the pleasures of springtime. The speaker is a kind shepherd who attempts to persuade his beloved to stay in the countryside with him. The passionate shepherd to his love. Come, live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove. That valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods, or steepy mountain yields. And we will sit upon the rock, seeing the shepherd feed their flocks. By shallow rivers to whose falls melodious birds sings madrigals. And I will make thee beds of roses and 1,000 fragrant poses. A cup of flowers and a kirtle embroidered all with leaves of myrtle. A gown made of finest wool, which from our pretty lambs we fold. Fair lined slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold. A belt of straw and ivy buds, with coral claps and amber studs. And if these pleasures may thee move, come, live with me and be my love. The shepherd swain shall dance and sing, for thy delight each May morning. If this delights thy mind may move, then live with me and be my love. The title is The Passionate Shepherd to His Love. It refers to a shepherd love for his beloved, which is focused on his romantic ideas of presenting her with the beauty of idyllic world in which he lives. The poem begins with the well-known romantic phrase, "Come, live with me, and be my love," implying that he is addressing his lover. "We will all the pleasures prove," he says, inviting her to come and enjoy his pleasure. The shepherd described the setting in details, that valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods or steepy mountain gives. He then makes a promise to her in the next verse, stating that we will sit upon the rock, seeing the shepherd feed their flocks. The speaker goes on to explain some day-to-day facts of their lives together in the second stanza of The Passionate Shepherd to His Love. He says they sit upon the rock of this new and lovely world they created together, and see the shepherds with their flock of sheep. They will see and appreciate the complexities of the world in which they formerly lived, because their lives are now committed to one another and to the world in which they live. They have time to observe the things around them. They will see and hear the shallow rivers and melodious birds singing to the crashing of cascading water, and the bird song will be similar to madrigals or harmonious work of music produced for multiple voices. The shepherd still has a variety of enticement to give his beloved in the hopes that she will come with him. He described how he would build her a bed of roses, how he will fill her life with flowers by making a kirtle of outer gown and a cap, all of which will be embroidered with the leaves of myrtle, a common blooming shrub. The speaker continues to describe the many pieces of clothes and accessories that he would craft for his beloved. In the fourth quatrain or fourth stanza, which marks the halfway point of the passionate shepherd to his love, it's vital to remember that all of these things are conditional on her living in with him. He will weave a gown made of the finest wool for her from the lambs they will raise together. His occupation is suddenly working in his favor, and he can make her exactly what he thinks or she wants. He doesn't forget about her feet, saying she'll have fair-lined slippers to wear when it comes cold. Her shoe buckles will be fashioned of the purest gold. He begins to wrap up his offer in the second to final verse. He concludes his description to her clothing by describing her gaining a belt made of straw and ivy buds, as well as coral claps and amber studs. It is apparent that the speaker is doing his greatest to discover and explain items that he believes she desires the most. The reader will never know if this is true or not. In the second part of the verse, he repeats his wish that she live with him so that she might have all these pleasures. The speaker tells how when she accepts his offer, the shepherd swains or their comrades and lovers would dance and sing, and everyone will delight in the fact that they are finally together as they should be in the final section of the passionate shepherd to his love. In the final two lines, he makes his offer for the third time. If this delight excite thy mind, he invites her to come, live with him, and be his love.
This is Rana Jeannie Gustagia, and for the topic today, I will going to discuss to you the poem about the nymph's reply to the shepherds. And before we start with the entire poem or the interpretation of the poem, we were going to talk about the background of how it started with the poem or how the author created the poem before its popularity. I will explain to you the historical background or the background of the poem, The Nymph's Reply to the Shepherd. It was created in 1596 by Sir Walter Raleigh in response to Christopher Marlowe's The Passionate Shepherd to his dove in 1593. Sir Walter Raleigh is a term as adventurous person is one of the most favorite of Queen Elizabeth I. He set out all the places in America when the inspiration hit him to create poetries, but when King James came to power, he was accused of treason and he was beheaded in 1618. The poetic structure in this is iambic tetrameter. It made of 6 and 4 line stanzas or quatrains where regularly alternate between stressed and unstressed syllables. You will know it later upon going through to the poem. The poem also provides strong caesuras, so it caesuras in sometimes in two in a line where they are major stop in each part of the poem. It also shows alliteration and simile and metaphor. You will notice things uh, this alliteration, simile, and metaphor if we go into depth into the poem. But basically, he created the poem because, in response to the poem, the passionate separatist just to diss the poem of Christopher Marlowe's. He doesn't like the poem at all because he thinks that it's very as temporary and short-term nature promises of his love to the nymph, which means I think what they call this Sir Walter Radley think that the kind of love that the passionate of shepherd to his love is not really a permanent love. It's just a temporary love shown by materialistic instinct. You will know that later as I can go in depth into the poem. Okay. And it's also this poem made its overall popularity because of Christopher Marlowe is famous at that time. That's why this poem become also iconic and make not only for insults but also to be enjoyed by the readers as along the generation. So it means that and many years ago, generations or decades ago, the this kind of happening, this type of thing is happening. it, like in the modern times, we basically, if you want to diss someone, you make it through a song. But in their time, if they don't like the thing that they see in other people, people literature or people created, they make it to a poem, which like Sir Walter Raleigh do in his time. His works is kind of not famous like Christopher Marlowe, but this the reply to the nymph's reply to the shepherd make its iconic come back to the literature, the contribution to the literature world. Okay, okay, so here's the next one. Now we're going to tackle about the poem of what is my interpretation about the poem, the needs reply to the shepherd. First stanza, I will read the first stanza of this one. If all the world and love were young, in truth in every shepherd's tongue, this pretty pleasure might be to live with thee and be thy love. What I what I notice about the poem or the first stanza in the poem is that it seems that he is questioning or mocking the love of the shepherds, and he see she see it as a mere pleasure. The the way of showing his love to the nymphs is just based on pleasure. So it might not be really, it might not move her to come live with him in this part of the poem. That's what just I noticed in the part of the first stanza of the poem. It seems that in the first stanza, she is referring to, she is instantly rejecting the love of the shepherd. The second stanza is, time drives the flocks field to fold, when rivers rage and rocks grow cold, and Philomel become dumb, the rest complains to come. In this part of the poem, it seems that she is showing that what will happen if the relationship becomes cold, and what will happen if the love goes to goes to a very complicated situation. What will happen? It refers in the river trades and rocks or cold, and there are times that they might have an. It's not. Um, it's not. Love is not about all rainbows and sunshine like that line. It shows in this second stanza that she is not referring to love is not all about fun and being happy with someone, and there's also struggles in the process of being with someone you want to love forever and to live with someone you love forever. What will happen? What will the shepherds do if the relationship grew cold and becomes complicated and the rest complains to come? There might be an instances that the shepherds will complain if the relationship grew cold in terms of how he delivers his love for the nymph and how he wants to show his love for the nymph. For this third stanza, the flowers do fade, once in fields to wayward winter is reckoning yields. A honey tongue, a heart of gall, is fancy spring, but sorrows fall. It means that she mentions that flowers do fade because in the poems of the passion of his shepherd to his love, he shows that he will shower her with flowers and dresses, and she will make it out of gold, slip her out of gold, a cap, and she will make her more prettier than ever. But like what the nymph said in the poem, in the third stanza of the poem, she, she mentioned that it will not last for a winter season because it will not go through all along the season. It will it will fade if the winter comes. The flowers will fade, and the yields will want to when winter comes. A honey tongue. It means, for my own interpretation, the way the shepherd showed his love, which were he sugarcoat his love to make the nymphs want him, but eventually it makes the nymph more uninterested with the shepherd's love. And I think for the perspective of the nymphs, the love of the shepherd is shallow. It's not his reason of loving the nymph is shallow. That's why it not make the nymphs move to the confession of the shepherds to his home. Next, fourth stanza: tie gowns, tie shoes, tie bed of roses, tie caps, tie quilter, and tie hoses. Soon break, soon wither, soon forgotten, in fully ripe, in reason noted. You see, like what I said earlier, if winter comes, this kind of dresses, the gown, the shoes, and the bed of roses will wither and will be forgotten because it's no season. It it the season is all about ice, so it will not go through the season. It will break and will not be needed to the winter season. That's why she said that this she is referring to this part of the poem that this kind of love of the shepherd is temporary and will not last long all throughout the forest season or the winter season basically. The belt of straw and ivy buds, the color okay, the fifth stanza, it's the belt of straw and ivy buds, the collar claps amber stud. All this in no means can move to come to the tea and be dialogue. In the part of the poem with the shepherd, he shows anything that he could offer materialistically to the nymphs. And like what the nymphs referring to the fifth stanza, all of this thing will not make her move, will not make her to give a conclusion that he will be with the shepherds. Because, like what I said earlier, the nymph's opinion about the love of the shepherd is shallow. It's not a long-term love that will last longer. It's just temporary. The reasons of the shepherd and the offerings he just made to the nymph is not really a good reason to make the nymph live with him. So she is questioning the love of the shepherd, and will and we'll see in the poem that she is decided that she will not be moved by the shepherd's love and come to a conclusion that she will not live with him, and she is uninterested to the love or the confession of the shepherds. Next one, but could youth last and love still breathe? The last part of the poem is this. So sorry, but could youth last and love still breathe? Has joys no date, nor age no need. Then this delights my mind might move. So live with thee and be thy love. For my own opinion about the last part of the poem, that if the shepherd will not base on the beauty or the age or the youngness of the nymph, and if the joy is not evident to the relationship, or age is not a requirement in making, or the love is temporary, she might be moved, but for my own opinion, in the last part, to live with T and be their love, she is just saying the statement that it might move her, but she is this evidently decided that she will not move to the shepherd's confession. That's what I think of this part of the poem, that even though she stated that if these things would be done by the shepherd's confession, or if these things will happen in the relationship, this might move her, but eventually that's not the case. She is decided in the first part of the poem that she will not be moved by the love of the shepherd. She will not make any relationship with the shepherd, and she is not amazed at all by the confession of the shepherd. You can see because upon reading the poem of the passion, the 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 love for the shepherd, the passion of shepherd based love, I come to a conclusion that the offerings of the shepherd is all about materialistic things. He just wants to lure her with materialistic things and just want to make a pleasure out of her. That's what I think about the confession of the shepherds. He his love, yes, his love is just pure pleasure. It's not really what you call this, a love that will last long, or will be an everlasting love. This love is just temporary and just make things, if the thing that they have in their in the first part of the relationship will not last long. He might leave the nymph, or if the nymph might not give the shepherd wants anymore, then that's the case. The shepherd might leave the nymph. That's what the nymph was trying to say. It's temporary, and the promises that the shepherd made in the poem seems that it's not really a true, or it's not what I mean to say. It's a doubtful promises and will soon break, and it's it's still make, and as of today we might see that this kind of things is still happening as of the new generation. People fills with materialistic things. They showered love. They blinded love by materialistic things. They see it. They see the love as, if you get me something that I wanted, then you love me, and you get what if you feel the pleasure of that person, then it means that it's love. But eventually, for the perspective of Nymph, it's not. That's why she is not moved at all by the confession of the shepherd, and decided that she will not accept the love of the shepherd. And that's why I think that's a really good decision of the nymph to not to make a decision of the nymph to not accept the love of the shepherd, because it it really shows that the shepherd's love is not really a good lasting love that will last forever. It's just temporary, and it will fade any minute or any time right now. That's what the names was trying to say in the poem. poem. So, like what I said, if you if you want to love someone, you have to love them unconditionally, not by the conditions they will give you, but what you want to offer wholeheartedly with no means of ulterior motive, your own motive about that person. You just love him or her because of not who they are or what they can offer, but you just love them. That's what I think is love all about. And it's not about materialistic things and pleasure. It's about the unconditioned love that you will feel for that someone that you'll love forever. And it's not temporary. It will last long, or it will last long forever, for my opinion. And that's what the nymph not see in the shepherd love. That's why she rejected the offer and will not make a move that will live with you. Yes, that's my interpretation of the nymph's reply to the shepherd, and I hope you learned something about my interpretation, and I hope you have a good day.